You're very welcome to Talk.TV. This is our very first live online broadcast coming to you from this spectacular setting here on Lough, Erne. Pascal Lisser's dream, his vision, the Watermill Lodge and Angling Centre. But primarily we're up here tonight. It's the eve of the World Pike Fishing Classic. It's a 3-day tournament that's been brought to you by a number of agencies up here. And Gary, myself and my colleagues decided we'd like to be part of this great event, so we decided we'd come up here to celebrate it by being here on the eve of it. There's many anglers taking part from all over, so we'd like to wish them all tight lines and go out there and catch that Leviathan of legend. We'd love you to do that. Now, a lot of the technology we're using tonight is very unique. It's enabling us to broadcast live around the world into your homes, onto your PCs and laptops. And without that, it's a satellite system provided by a company we've been partnering with. And without that, we couldn't do this. So we're really very grateful to iBub for all that technology. Now, we've got a great bag of people on the show tonight, people from various walks of life, who are also, shall we say, in different professions and other areas that also will give light to what they're interested in. We've got a man from France, we've got a world champion in our midst, but we've also got some quirky stuff as well to keep you all interested. It's a live online show. We want you to engage with us, the viewers. Come on and get involved. So if you can tweet us at Talk.TV, follow us on Facebook, or keep watching us here on YouTube. So without further ado, my first guest tonight is Pascal Lisser, a Frenchman. He's a writer and journalist, but also a wonderful lure fisherman. Pascal, you're very welcome to Talk.TV.
Hi, Alan.
Now, can you tell me how it all started with you? I'm always fascinated as an angler meeting other anglers. Where did this all started?
Oh, I began to fish very early when I was 4 years old. I fished for trout in the little stream close to the house of my grandparents.
And where would home have been then?
Sorry?
Where's home? Where was home?
Oh, I live in Normandy.
In Normandy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close to the beach of the D-Day.
So were you a sea fishing boy as well?
Sometimes I fish for sea bass.
Now, at what age did you start really chasing predatory fish like carnassier?
Oh, I'd start about at 12 years old, and I fish for pike and pike perch too. And many years ago, I began to travel. So.
And tell me some of the countries now you have visited.
Oh, I try to visit pike, to fish for pike in many of the European countries. Of course, Ireland is one of my favorite destinations, but I also fish in Sweden, in lake in Sweden, or in the Baltic Sea, or sometimes in the Lapland.
Now, I have visited the Baltic Sea at the southern part of Finland, and I struggled to do any good over there in the Baltic, in this brackish water, which is kind of a unique environment. You've giant northern pike living in the kelp beds and chasing herring and even roach. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
How did you do there?
Oh, it was 10 years ago. We began to fish with jerkbait. We are learning jerkbait, and we have caught huge pike with my fishing buddy.
And how big are the pike that are over there now?
We have caught 1 on 50.
1 meter 50?
Yeah.
1 meter 0.50?
Yeah.
That is an enormous fish.
Oh, no, sorry. 1 on 15.
1 meter 15. That is still a very large fish.
Yeah.
I would estimate that is around 28 pounds, maybe 13, 14 kilo.
Oh, yeah, it was a fat pike because they eat earrings, so they are very fat.
Oh,
but
wow.
They are not so good fighters in Ireland, you know.
Yes, we are very blessed that our pike over here are very athletic.
Yeah.
We should enter them in the Olympics.
Yeah. Nowhere I can see pike jump like this. Yeah.
Now, Pascal, as I mentioned at our intro, you are a journalist and a writer by profession. You earn your money by this, which I'm always fascinated by, because you are always hunting down stories and meeting anglers to write about them. How did you get into journalism?
Oh, it was one of my dreams when I was a young guy, and I get some opportunity by meeting some people who helped me when I was young. I began to write some report and some article for Predator magazine, and many years after, I have the opportunity to be the chief editor. So It's very nice for me.
So your job now, you are chief editor of which magazine?
Brochet Sound magazine.
Brochet Sound, which if we translate it means Pike and Zander, or the walleye relation in the United States and Canada. So that must have a very big following, has it?
Yeah.
And how many, shall we say, copies of this magazine would be sold on a monthly basis?
About 10,000.
10,000 of a very specialist predator magazine. That's a very, very nice number.
In France,
And have you always worked with, shall we say, predatory fish as a writer? Was that always your love?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what other species and what other countries have you visited that you actually love?
Oh, I fish also for trout in Great Slave Lake, and it was a great experience too. I know that you have fished that too.
I have fished there, and I am always fascinated to meet a fellow adventurer. It is an amazing place. Describe it for viewers, how many hectares you think this lake is and the scale of the place.
Oh, I don't remember exactly the size of the lake, but I know that he has the same superficies as Belgium.
As Belgium. That's my understanding. I can tell you it is approximately 6.6 million acres. And it is, to me, one of the great wonders of the world, because they have enormous stocks of pike, they have enormous stocks of lake trout, grayling, they have whitefish. And it's what I call a mixed fishery in balance. And it's, for me, for people who are interested in ecology, it is a lesson for people to maybe listen to, that to leave nature well enough alone.
Yes, and you can see other animals that you can never find in other country. Bear.
That's right. You see eagles, many eagles. Many golden eagles and bald eagles. That's correct. And I always saw caribou. I saw muskox.
I have also seen it.
Yes, and I've seen the bison from the Wood Buffalo Park on Great Slave Lake, which is a wonderful treat. Have you fished for these giant catfish in the Ebro?
No, never.
Have you fished for them in France?
Sometimes, but that is not the fish I like to fish. I like to catch. So sometimes I have caught some silure, but it's not my favorite fish.
So, of all the fish species, what is your favorite species, and what is the best technique for these species?
I like all the technique. I like to fish pike with surface lure. I like to fish pike in a deep lake, very difficult technique. And what I think it's you have to be very large in your technique.
You have to be versatile.
Versatile, yes.
Absolutely, and that's a very good approach and mentality, because I notice that when you use your surface poppers or surface lures, it is very exciting, your heart is bursting, but go back the next day and many times they do not even appear. But I'll tell you, the one thing I love about predatory fish is there's always something new to learn. Now, Pascal, we are going to move on. We have a very interesting program ahead of us with a lot of different guests. You're staying on the show for us tonight. Now, next up, we have a different take on shore snacks. Our host here tonight, Pascal Lisser, has a quirky taste and a quirky text and a quirky way of doing the shore snacks, and I think you'll all find this intriguing. What have you got lined up for me today?
Well, today we have something very usual, if you want, is a beef burger, but à la française, with baguettes on some pepper.
Beef burger à la française?
Yes.
But that sounds very nice anyway.
À la française, it's already square.
Lovely.
To suit the bread.
My gosh.
Because we don't put a round bones, we put a French baguette.
So nature made it that way already?
Of course. We do,
So this is just, what, round steak minced?
Yeah, nice minced steak from fresh from your butcher.
Okay.
In the morning you shape it in square, because at least you have beef all over your sandwich. And you pan fry them in some butter, and you wrap it up, and you bring it there.
That's superb. I like the sound of this.
Alright. We have a little bit
olive
of oil.
In the hot pan, of course.
Hot pan, of course.
Yeah.
With my magic pot.
Your magic pot, yeah.
I take the beef. Voilà.
So you're going to sear it both sides.
Sear it both sides, of course. Sorry.
And how long now will you do this for?
About 1 minute of each time.
1 minute.
It's already cooked.
Okay, just sealing it up.
Yes, on eat it.
Yeah.
To have a hot sandwich.
It smells absolutely wonderful.
So, and when again we are caramelizing the beef, that will give a nice taste to the everything else. We turn it away.
That'll gladden the heart of any hungry fisherman. Oh, you come ashore, you're chilled to the bone, and then you're presented with this.
Yeah, exactly. This one, come on,
That
baby.
is awesome.
That's it.
Oh gosh.
Good.
Oh, Pascal, you're my friend.
Salt and pepper mixed.
Salt and pepper mix, okay.
Of course, a little bit.
So use the black pepper mixed again with your salt?
Yes, with the salt and some Chinese spice and whatever you like.
Whatever you like, you put into it.
Exactly.
You can put paprika, is that right?
Paprika,
anything
curry,
anything you like.
Cinnamon, whatever.
Okay.
You know. Well, let it.
For my young son now, Simon, he would love this.
Exactly.
You know, because he loves adventures, coming ashore, feels like he's on like a bit of a camping trip or whatever. So
exactly.
It breaks up the day.
On that part of it.
Okay.
And here I have like a stir fry. You can buy it already in a shop, or you cut it yourself. It's like red onions, pepper, on red chili.
So red chili, red pepper, I can see there, some green pepper,
and some red onions.
And red onions sliced up.
All right.
This looks lovely.
That will take about 2 minutes to.
You're going to let them brown a bit.
Yeah, brown a bit. With the steak, let's give a nice flavor to the steak.
This is unbelievably fast, actually. I can see it now. We're probably 2 or 3 minutes into it, and it's almost completed.
Almost completed. Not ready to eat in 3 minutes, but
that's fantastic. And Pascal, it sure knocks the socks off your traditional sandwiches. You bring it home, that limp ham sandwich and the tired-looking wrapper or whatever.
Correctly.
Yeah, this
so
is really.
At least you'll have the juice go through the bread. You have plenty of.
There's glitters on my beard. Yes.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We have nice towels anyway.
This is superb. I can smell it. It's fantastic.
Lovely.
Of course, again, unfortunately, the viewers cannot get the smell, but the smell. Just take it from me, folks. The smell is worth money. It's fantastic. This is great, Pascal. I would never have thought of doing something like this.
Oh, that is not ready. Hop.
So flambé.
Little bit flambé.
Okay.
Some nice herbe de Provence.
Herbe de Provence.
We touch.
Okay.
Of course, I have.
But what's traditionally herbe de Provence? What's in that? Is it something like rosemary, thyme?
Yes, all dried up.
All dried up.
Yes.
Okay.
I have my special weapon.
Oh, that's very, very.
James Bond.
Yeah, Miss Moneypenny. My gosh, you've been very generous with the old cognac.
Oh, look at that, because it's cool there.
Oh, yeah. The old room. Oh, wow, look at that. Pascal, explain to me now how you got that patty to shape like that. It's like a rectangle.
Well, it's simple. When you have your minced beef in a bag, you just malax it a little bit. You know.
Okay. So you massage it.
Yeah, you massage. Yeah.
Get it nice and.
Yeah, exactly. After you take it off your plastic bag, and you flat it with your hands, and you take any knife or any spatula, and you shape it.
Okay.
And afterwards, you take it gently straight to your pan, and when it's cooked, it's not solid, but it stays together.
Lovely and tender. I like that word gently, the way you did that. That was very nice. Yeah, of course, you are French.
Of course, come on.
This looks wonderful. Now, what have we got here?
Now, exactly, to finish everything, after the nice cognac on the flambé, we will add some garlic butter, cream, and a little bit of flour.
And a little bit of flour?
Yes, because that will take the juice you have there for your bread.
So it's garlic butter,
cream, and flour.
And flour.
Yeah. And you will see straight away, you can see.
You're thickening it.
Everything, the juice left in your pan will be thick for your bread.
Okay.
You don't put butter on your bread because you put this base on your bread. Completely.
Fantastic. It is absolutely.
Look, you see straight away. You see?
The aroma is really terrific.
Voila. We will take.
And again, Pascal, it's very easy to make your garlic butter.
Oh, just.
And you can buy it also.
Oh, you can buy it already done.
Most of the supermarkets have
Or you put it simple: garlic, butter, a drop of lemon, and parsley.
And parsley.
Yes.
So little bits of parsley.
Completely. Now you take some juice, and you put it there on your bread. You see, it's quite thick. It's very nice because that will go very nicely with your beef.
And Pascal, again, do I have to share this with the remainder of the lads in the crew? Do I really?
I don't think so. Actually,
you don't think this for me then?
Only. All right.
Yeah. This is. Oh boy, look at this.
Voilà.
This is to die for, boys.
Square, look.
Oh,
You push it,
yeah.
and that's it.
Oh my gosh, this is terrific.
Done.
Pascal, this is
I
absolutely...
switch off the gas. I put you in one plate.
After a cold day out there,
Voilà.
this looks...
You have the proper
Oh,
sandwich.
oh,
Alright.
oh it's absolutely...
Nice, huh?
It is superb.
Have we drop of wine with
It
that?
is wonderful.
Have we drop of
No,
wine?
I'm driving.
Oh, sorry, sir. Okay. Mind. You want some wine?
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Avec plaisir.
Très fantastique.
Merci, monsieur. Bonne journée. Au revoir.
Welcome back to Talk.TV. This is our very first live online show going out to you across the world. Now, we want you to get in touch with the show. It's an interactive show. So send us a tweet at Talk.TV. You can also follow us on Facebook or just keep watching the show and enjoy it. And you can always send us in a tweet after the show. But we'd like you to send us your views, news and opinions about all that's going on in your patch. Now, my next guest I've known since he was much younger than I am sitting here tonight. He's a fantastic angler, lived near me when I had my fishing lodge business over in Lough on the west coast of Ireland. So it's a great pleasure, Kahal Hughes, to be with me tonight. Thanks, here Alan. On Fish Talk.
Thank you.
Kahal, I've known you a large number of years, and when I met you as a teenager into your early 20s, you're a terrific competition angler. How did it all start?
Thanks, Alan. Started when I was 14, like all young lads, heading off on our bikes, the rods across the crossbar to the local lakes, Ballyquirk it was. We used to fish there, bits of lead stuck on the line, and progressed on to there. From that Oliver Ryan and his son Ronan took us under their wing, set up a Galway junior team, which we fished the junior canals. Then from there went on to fish Irish junior trials. Wasn't really ready for them. I think that was about 16. Took me a year. Then I made the team when I was 17.
Made the Irish team?
Yeah, junior team. Yeah,
junior team at 17.
Yeah, we went. We fished in Scotland, Burton Clyde Canal, I think it was, and the experience you gain over those few young years takes, it's brilliant. So from there, I never gave it up. Just love fishing.
Now, I know that your dad was a trout angler, a very keen trout angler.
Yes.
And he used to bring you as a young fellow, is that right?
He did, yeah. We used to have a caravan down in Inchigatreer, down in Lough, and we used to spend our summers every weekend down there. It's great times. So there was a lot of us down there, used to be picking mayflies.
But also, my understanding was his dedication and love of trout fishing didn't rub off on you.
It didn't really, I suppose. Long hours out in the boat, not catching a whole lot. Being dropped on an island, picking dozens of mayflies, yeah. Suppose when I was 14, the summer of that year, when the junior canals and everything, I got hooked on competition fishing, going out with the friends, catching loads of fish. As you know yourself, Ballyquirk was stuffed to fish back then, and you go out thinking nothing of catching 30, 40 kilo of bream, and that it was absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
So that's where it ended up, really.
Now, you have achieved, in my mind, you're at the very pinnacle of your sport now through complete dedication, which it is. It requires so much dedication, attention to detail to progress. As a guy, not financed by any big companies or whatever to do this, you have your own job, you work for yourself, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you do this as well as a hobby, but you're at the very pinnacle. I want to tell the viewers, Kahal here is twice world pairs champion. He and his partner, Philip Jackson, have won it twice, which is some achievement. He was also second in the World Championships in Spain in 2010 under CIPS rules, which for the uninitiated means it's a very strictly controlled thing, one on points allocated for individual weights and fish. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, to progress from the days we're just talking about there of a 14-year-old, 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever, you're in your 20s now, this is becoming a serious obsession for you.
It is, yes. The only time I ever gave it up was when I went to New York. I was in New York for nearly a year when chasing after my now wife, who that's one of the most important things, have an understanding wife, because fishing in my house takes 7 days a week. If I'm not fishing, I'm preparing for my next competition, and you need that, and understanding kids as well. Both my kids, Keane and Megan, they're mad into fishing. They love getting out to the local U club and that. It's just, is it dedication? I don't know. When you love something so much, it's not a job. It's great. Things have changed over the years, of course. Now, with the level of anglers that are competing now, everything has to be prepared. So you're probably spending more time preparing for a competition actually than the 5 hours you're fishing it. So things have changed in that way,
I'm fascinated. I was always into gear and, seeing the different levels of equipment. Give me an idea in roundish figures, the value of the kit you might bring with you to a competition with feeder rods, poles, etc. What could you have with you in value, roughly?
Oh, I never...
Running to many thousands.
Yes, you'll be upwards of 10,000.
Upwards of 10,000 euros.
Sterling, probably.
Sterling. Well, that means we're talking about, in the US, maybe 18 to 20,000. Just this rods, reels, lines, and the other accoutrements that make up the gear.
You would be,
That is quite fantastic.
And then all the other stuff you have at home. I wouldn't even like... My biggest fear is that when I die, my wife will sell my gear for what I said I paid for it.
And I'm the first bidder.
It does add up, really.
But for you now, what is your favourite species? Because you've fished all over and you've had wonderful opportunities to witness and experience things.
I suppose I love catching bream. They're a bottom feeding fish. You need to be confident to catch them. They might not show up for 2 hours, so you have to keep the feed going in for that 2 hours. I just love catching fish, hybrids. If you catch hybrids up in the water, it's very exciting fishing. It's busy fishing. You have to keep feeding. You have to keep feed going in. I don't really have any favourites.
But that's a skill in its own right. My understanding from my days is that I used to competition fish, fished on the Irish team as a young guy, but never at the level that you attained. And I found that feeding was so difficult, to know when and not to overfeed.
Yeah, people can keep it simple. Keep it simple. The fish generally will tell you what to do. If you're catching a lot of fish, you can afford to feed more, because obviously there's a lot of fish in front of you and they're going to eat it, so you need a bit for all the fish there. If you're not catching that amount of fish, you can cut back and fish to your bites, is what we say. Little and often is always a good way to start and take it from there. You walk before you run, like it's.
And for me, as somebody who just loves all types of fishing, I think it's fascinating the level of skill and the attention to detail with number 22 and size 20 hooks. Nowadays, I'd want a jeweler's eyeglass to even see them.
Yeah, I don't generally use hooks that small anymore. If I have to do that, I'm usually gone home. Yeah, the boys give me a bit of a hard time they see my van going over the hill and go, Hughesy's not catching. Most of my fishing is generally 3-hour drive for me.
Okay.
So it takes up a lot of time. So if I'm not catching, if I do draw a bad peg, in fairness, I am usually gone if I have to use a 22 hook.
Well, Cahal's going to stay on with us tonight, and Cahal will feature regularly on the show in upcoming shows. He has a lot of knowledge and experience that he wants to pass on to new entrants into the sport, and we're going to set up a masterclass with Cahal, following around as he teaches me the new methods that he's an expert at, and showing me all the different ranges of tackle to be deployed to what makes you a top match angler. Now, next up, we've a session with Kahal and the other people involved in this great 3-day pike angling challenge that's taking place up here on Lough Erne. So without further ado, let's go and see what these guys were talking about when I met them earlier. I'm here with Richard Turner, Jack Tisdall and Ruth Tubman. And Ruth is from the Tourism Bureau up here in Northern Ireland. Now we're fascinated because we're on the eve of this wonderful European Pike Classic, and it's a large tournament, a very prestigious event. Jack, tell us about it. How did it come about, and what year did we start on this?
Well, this is the 9th year of the event, and it was actually, the idea was thought up of by an Irish international angler who was a course fisherman, Mark Lichtenberg, and he was the shop manager of the shop in Enniskillen on the Sligo Road, fishing tackle and bait. And we had the influx of the zebra mussels on the Erne. It cleared the water, and the predator fishing had just become really, really good. That happened about 96, the clarity of the water issue. And he thought, there's so many predators being caught, because it was selling more and more lures in the shop. He thought, let's have a predator event. So the World Pike Fishing, Erne Pike Fishing Classic was born. And our club, Erne Anglers, we're part of the National Coarse Fishing Federation. We run a lot of events already, match type events, in partnership with other people in the council and DECAL, and we just got a few stakeholders together, and they all agreed to support it, and that's where we are today. It's a fantastic.
Is it run under CIPS rules?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. The SIPS rules tend to be measuring fish, and they are SIPS fish don't fish for prize money. That's the two big differences. The anglers here, we have surveyed them throughout the time that the competition's been running to keep improving things. They have asked us to keep weighing the fish. The overwhelming majority have asked for that, and of course the majority of people fish because of the prize money. We don't get as big an interest in events that are just being fished for cups.
It's a very, very impressive record, 9 years. Richard, you're a representative of DECAL. What is DECAL?
DECAL is Department of Culture, Arts and Leisure, and we have jurisdiction over the management of the inland waterways here.
So this is like inland fisheries. You're representing inland fisheries.
Yes.
And what type of involvement have you got now in this prestigious event?
Well, once again, I was involved at the very start in terms of evolving and developing the competition. As of now, we've been involved with organising the sections, getting the stewards ready, making sure all the fishing sections and everybody gets a place on time.
So do you provide staff for this event?
We provide about 8 staff who
right.
will be on stewarding duties over the whole weekend. They'll be out in boats operating with mobile weigh stations, and prior to that they've been getting grass cut and getting the swims ready.
Is it big an event that you're bringing in a lot of anglers? Are they from south of the border, UK guys? Are there any continentals coming in?
There are quite a lot of French anglers this year. I mean, entries are still coming in. They're not completely closed yet. We have a deadline of Wednesday, but we still take a few entries after that, if people have reasons for booking in late. We tend to have, on average, over the 9-year period, we've had about 350 entries for each event. Some of those people would fish just one event. Some may be not a boat owner, they fish the bank event on a Friday. The boat owners tend to fish Saturday and Sunday. There's a specialist event, boat fly fishing on Friday as well. So we have had up to 200 different individual anglers fish the event. And our database over the 9 years, we maintain a database to keep mail shotting people, keep them informed on results and when the events are coming up.
That's fantastic.
And that's now 537 people long. I was checking that before we came out. Okay. So that's how many people have fished the event over the 9 years.
That's impressive. Ruth, you represent tourism generally.
Yes.
If I was, say, sitting now here tonight in Barnsley, watching this on TV, on my, say, smart telephone or whatever it is, what can you offer me by way of telling me what's on offer in Northern Ireland?
Okay, well, Fermanagh is an absolutely fantastic place to come to. It's the lakeland paradise of Northern Ireland. We have many absolutely fantastic visitor attractions. The Lake Pottery, the National Trust, we have 3 of them in County Fermanagh, and we have the Marble Arch Caves Global Geopark, not to mention an absolute stream of fabulous accommodation, including the 5-star Lough Erne Resort that hosted the 2013
Great golf, I know that, it's great golf.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Also, I know that you've got great cruiser hire here,
yes,
terrific opportunities,
yes.
All right.
On the lake we have a number of cruiser hire companies offering private hire to people who can come along and take the boat out themselves and work away.
Well, thank you all for coming along tonight to fishtalk.tv. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. We now know there's a lot more than just fishing on in the area. And listen, best wishes to all the anglers and tight lines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to fishtalk.tv, the weekly live online fishing show for all you fish heads out there. Now next up, we've got a fishing competition called Pixelated. It's a competition for you, the viewer. It's a photo competition. Send in your photograph of your favourite catch. It could be a great memory you have, or perhaps it's a crowd scene or something quirky, maybe a robin or something on the end of your fishing rod. But send it in because there's great prizes in there that you can go and contest for. Now you can tweet the show at FishTalk.TV. You can keep watching us on YouTube, but also engage with us on Facebook. But let us know your thoughts, opinions, your views and comments on all that's happening in your patch, because we want to hear from you. Now recently I caught up with a lady who's at the very top for sport. Her name is Anitra Hamper, and she's an American lady. She's also a globe trekking lady. And Anitra is a lady who takes sport fishing seriously, and she's also engaged in making sure that ladies in America are able to get into tournaments and all that goes with it. So without further ado, I want you to meet Anitra Hamper, a really interesting person.
Anitra, you're very welcome to Fish Talk, and it's a great pleasure to have you on the show. As a lady in the sport in the United States, I've travelled extensively throughout the States, and I come across quite a number of fishing girls and ladies in different spots, but it's quite rare over here in Ireland and particularly across Europe. Why do you think that is? Is there a general movement on to encourage women to get involved?
You know, I was thinking about this as we spoke a little earlier on this topic, and I would be intrigued to find out why that is the case in Europe. And I don't know if it's, I don't know why that is, but I can tell you from the standpoint of the United States that there is a great movement of women, not just for fishing, but to get in the outdoors, where women typically have been stereotyped, and it sounds like they still are in Europe, as being sort of the tag-alongs, we sunbathe while our husbands fish, and or we go shopping and they do their guy thing. But it's not the case like that here in the United States. I looked up some information when I knew we were going to talk about this. There's a group called the Congressional Sportsman Foundation that does a survey every 5 years on exactly this kind of thing. Where money comes from the outdoor sector, breaking it down to male and female, but they also look at who are the segments. So in the last two surveys that have been done, one in 2006, 25% of anglers in the United States were female. And then 5 years later, 27% of them were female. So at that point, we're talking about 8.9 million women. So we make up almost a third of all anglers, which is a great thing. And in the difference between those two time frames, the men, in terms of the number of men in the sport, declined by a couple of percentage points. So we're having more influence. And why is that? Well, I think for a couple of reasons. I think that there are more opportunities. There's women's groups, women's fishing groups that are being established. There's one called the Ladies Bass Angler Association. So it's all women. They have women tournaments. So the opportunities to fish and the opportunities to get involved in tournaments are growing. I also think that there has been a shift. And very recent, actually, there are groups like Bassmaster that have been exclusively men. Well, in the last several years, women have been able, through channels, to qualify for those very elite tournaments. That's different.
Do you see it when you travel, that you meet other women, say, in Germany, or if it's in Scotland, or are you very much a lone figure?
We as women, we like to get out there and fish, and we like to have fun doing it. So when I go to other countries to fish, sometimes I am a lone ranger. I know when I went to Bangkok, I wanted to fish in Bang Samran Lake, which is a wonderful lake there where you can catch the giant Mekong. So I showed up, and there were men fishing, and the women that were there were hanging out in the bungalows. So I ended up attracting quite a bit of attention, because not only was I fishing like a fiend, but I ended up setting a female record at the lake because I couldn't stop. I fished for 9 hours straight, but I was the only woman out there fishing.
And what was the record? Can you explain what the record is?
The record is I caught 25 giant Mekong catfish.
Wow.
And all of them ranging in size between 60 and 80 pounds. So if you can imagine, over the period of 9 hours, and these aren't minnows. These are 80-pound fish that have such mass that it's actually like trying to catch a bus. So when that fish is trying to move through the water, it's just, the force is absolutely phenomenal, and the strength and endurance required is truly phenomenal when you're spending about a half hour reeling in one of these fish. So the owner, after I was there, I was intrigued about this conversation that you and I are having. I said, I bet you don't see a lot of women. And he said, not only do we not see a lot of women fishing here, and this is in Thailand, he says, I've never, in the 7 years at that time that he'd owned the lake, he said, I've never had a woman catch as many fish the size in as many as you did. He said most men can't last all day. And they tell you that on the website. So I felt pretty proud.
Yeah, that is I'm actually blown away. And Richie and I are sort of like almost like passing out of the thought of all of those fish, all of that heavy duty winching and fighting those fish in 9 hours in, I'd say, high humidity, sweaty conditions.
110 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And tremendous humidity. I've got some photos. There's some photos of these fish on my website, but I got some great shots of just, action shots, and you can just see the sweat on my face, and it was absolutely exhausting. At the end of the day, my guide, when I would reel down to try and, before I bring the pole up again, my guide would literally have to put his hand on my back and push my lower back so I could stand up. I was absolutely exhausted, and all he didn't speak much English, but he let me do it all myself right from the beginning, and he kept screaming, "Strong woman!"
We salute you for that. That's an amazing achievement. Richie, you'd like to ask another question now?
Yeah, I'd like to just know. I know you're traveling all over the world. Where's the next destination? Where's the next big place you want to go? And what sort of species is it? What tickles your fancy?
I have to say that the catfish tickle my fancy. I love fishing for catfish, and that's one of the reasons the giant Mekong was on my list. But I've got a couple of other places that I'm going here in the States over the next couple of months. But my eye is really set. Maybe next year, I'd really like to go to Spain. I know that there are some just truly obnoxiously large catfish there. I believe they're Wells catfish.
Right. The big whales, they call them Salure or Wells. They're in the Ebro, and they certainly go over 100 kilo, 220, 240 pounds. But you're off to Louisiana on Thursday to go shrimp fishing.
I'm shrimping, and I was corrected by my southwestern Louisiana folks in Lake Charles to say that shrimping is the term apparently used by the professional shrimpers. I will be cast netting, which is still sort of shrimping for people like me who want to try it. So that will be a unique experience because I've never done that where you cast the net out.
I'll tell you one thing, Anitra. Richie and I would love to be carrying your bags and trying that with you. Sadly, we have to come to an end on this interview, but we're going to have a regular contact with you, and you're going to feature regularly on our show. And Richie, I'd like to just say one other thing.
I'd like maybe in a couple of weeks you come back and tell us about your experience, and also tell us about your trip to Iceland. So we maybe talk to you in a couple of weeks, Anitra?
That would be fantastic. I write a column for an outlet called womensoutdoornews.com, and my column is called Reeling the Globe. So I have a wonderful piece on that column with Richie, who took me pike fishing in Ireland, and I will have a piece on Iceland coming up this week on there as well. So, I thank you for inviting me on and having me back as well. I, like you, want to connect people with the best places to fish, the best kinds of fish to catch, and the best experts to do that with. So I really appreciate being in your sphere of influence, and look forward to talking to you some more.
Listen, it's been wonderful to have you on the show, Anitra. Safe traveling, and we'll be in touch and have you on the show in another couple of weeks.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Talk.TV. This is our very first live online show for all you fish heads out there. Now, the next segment of the show is one of my favourites because I'm a bookie guy. I like books about fishing, adventures and all of that. So my good friend tonight is Paul Burke, well known to a lot of you out there as the Angling Information Officer with Inland Fisheries Ireland. I've known Paul for quite a number of years. So Paul is doing our book review tonight. Paul, welcome to Talk.TV.
Thank you, Alan. Well, this is one of my favourite books of all time. I'm fishing a long time, since 1961. I took up the sport of fishing, and I fish for everything that moves, literally in fresh water and in the sea. But pike have been my long life passion. And this book in 1971, I did buy it in 1972 for the princely sum of £2.50 in Old Irish.
And that is a collector's item, that book now. It's a fantastic read.
First edition. It took me 25 years to contact one of the authors in signing the book, which I can proudly display.
Dr. Barry Rickards.
Dr. Barry Rickards, who was a professor of antiquities in Cambridge.
He was in Emmanuel College. He was the Professor Emeritus there, and he was an amazing individual.
A very amazing man.
Yeah.
And this is probably the book that revolutionised pike fishing both in UK and in Ireland, because up to this, pike was regarded as a monster. This was the methods we used. All pike were killed here in Ireland. This advocated conservation.
Now, you were a young guy, Paul, when you bought this. So you were actually, in a way, ahead of the posse by buying a book like that in Ireland at the time.
Yeah.
And what sort of got you interested in big pike?
Well, in the 1960s, I used to go to Eason's every week to buy the Angling Times. I've been buying it since 1963.
My gosh.
And in the late 60s, there was two anglers who used to write a column every week on their adventures in Ireland. They were Fred Wagstaff and Bob Reynolds. One of the authors here, Ray Webb, who was very famous in the annals of Irish fishing, one-time record holder for tench, met the two intrepid anglers, and their adventures in Ireland were legendary. Then he contacted Dr. Barry Rickards, who then started to fish in Ireland.
Now, this segment should be really subtitled, the book you or anyone recommends for before you shuffle off that great big fishery in the sky. Now, I'm putting you on the spot. Why do you recommend all the viewers who have access to getting this book buying this one?
It'll be hard to buy it, but it is in a lot of libraries, believe it or not, because I was connected with the libraries back then when I was in college, and I persuaded many of them to buy it.
Is it unique because of its groundbreaking knowledge? Is that it?
It was his groundbreaking knowledge. It was his whole approach to pike fishing was a professional sport, and we needed to take care of pike. Up to this, we killed everything. I used to fish on Rory's pike trips and go to Cavan, and we all killed all the fish. And they usually ended up with the cat.
With the cat, yeah.
You know, this was
this
was the Irish way of dealing with pike.
Yes.
It was, you know, they regarded pike anglers in Ireland as a, you know, oh, that's a dirty thing.
They were verminous.
We were all trout anglers, and I was a trout angler too.
Yes.
But pike fascinated me.
Yes.
And certainly reading Wagstaff and Reynolds, and then reading this wonderful book, really changed my mind on it. One of the things that modern readers need to understand, though, is this book, don't criticise it. Don't forget, it is of its time.
It's of a time, absolutely.
It is. I mean, they're talking about live baiting. Live baiting was banned in Ireland in 1980.
Okay.
But they do come on new methods and new methodologies in tackling pike fishing. They were the first that I ever read that used sea fish for
dead baiting.
Dead baiting.
Well, Paul, it's been a wonderful experience for me to have you on the show because you're a great old friend of mine, and this will be one of my favourites in my library as well. However, I'm jealous of you. You have the first edition, I have the second edition, so leave that behind or I'm going to steal it.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to have Paul on as a regular guest during the year, and we look forward to Paul returning to me again. But on a recent trip to Scotland, I met up with a fascinating man called Alan Kettle White, who's a senior fishery scientist with the Argyll Rivers Trust. Now, during the day, he's a limnologist doing all the things that fishery scientists do in respect of salmonid and trout enhancement work all around the catchment area of Western Argyll. But at the weekend, this man changes into a different persona. He's a hunter of giant Ferox trout from the cold water glaciated lakes of these lovely valleys in Scotland. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to this amazing gentleman who's a pike and
welcome to
Ferox
Talk.TV.
Thank you. Par excellence.
Tell us about your background. Where did you get into fishing and how did it all start?
Well, really, I mean, I grew up in the Thames Valley. My father was a keen fisherman, and we used to go hither and thither along the River Thames, catching all sorts, perch, dace, roach, all these kind of fish, which you don't find in Argyll very much.
A very normal sort of early days in the fishing world. What brought you into the world of Ferox, and how did you come about Ferox fishing?
Well, really, I got interested in Ferox trout. Well, always been interested in trout. Living by the Thames, you had the legends of the Thames trout, which were very difficult or impossible to find. and you had writings from authors like John Bailey, Ron Greer, these kind of things that started to bring my attention to even the old writers back in the Victorian days and their exploits with Ferox trout. So this really planted a seed in my mind about Ferox, and I always wanted dearly to catch one.
So what was the first Ferox you caught, and where was that?
Well, the first Ferox actually was on Lough. I came up for a pike fishing trip with a friend from down south, and just one afternoon we borrowed a boat, a rowing boat, and we had some pike gear, so we decided to just try and hunt for a Ferox with a mackerel just out on a line off the back of the rowing boat, and believe it or not, we caught one.
Wow.
So, you know, seeing this this lovely fish, 9.5 pounds of beautiful pewter silver and purple scales, it was just something to behold. So that really kind of stuck with me, and knew I wanted to know more about Ferox trout.
Well, I'm envious of you to have such a fluky start.
Right, very fluky.
You know, but is there any particular day or weather that you'd say, yes, I'm going for it today, that really get you going?
I think really, you know, if you've got a wind in any direction, as long as it's warmer than the temperature of the water, then I think you're kind of on a plus. You know, that kind of gives me hope for the day. It doesn't matter what the wind direction is. But I think, you know, my favourite wind directions, obviously from the west and the south, these bring sort of more damper, milder air conditions than you might get from the north or the east. So in the UK, that's fairly typical, I think, for most loch situations. Anglers prefer the west and the south winds because they get the food chain going.
Now, there are certain times of the year that we all know that fish migrate for various reasons. It can be for feeding, for reproduction, etc. What is your favourite time of the year for Ferox hunting, and the most productive time?
I think if you ask any Ferox angler that, you know, has got some time under their belt, if you like, they'll say, you know, the early part of the season is usually more productive. The water's usually very cold, it's usually clear, and the Ferox are just starting to sort of come out of their winter, not hibernation, but the torpor, yeah. So I guess, you know, the Ferox are very aggressive at that point in the year, and they're possibly more easily caught. So I guess most anglers will think, you know, the beginning, you know, that our season starts on March the 15th, but, you know, my favourite time is from that day really to the end of the season on October the 6th. But I think probably more fish get caught from the start of the season through to the end of June.
I would love to know, for example, when you're going out, say for example you go to a new water that you've never had any knowledge of, but you've had maybe a few charts that you've looked at and whatever, do you try to look and break up that lake into sort of compartmentalize like I do, and say, well, initially I say that looks hot there, and then it might have another area that definitely looks like it needs a really serious going over, and then you might have more marginal areas for whatever reason, might be more exposed, you might want to get battered with the wind or whatever. But is that how you go about that? Do you look for a specific area that, because there's islands and a bit of a deep channel?
I think what I try and look for on the day is to fish the conditions. And so if you have a favourable wind pushing into an area of the loch, no matter how deep or shallow you might think that might be, it's worth fishing it. And I think, you know, so I wouldn't get misled by fishing a certain depth or a certain area of the loch. It's about kind of looking around on the day that you're fishing and trying to find where the fish are. So having predetermined locations, looking at a map, saying this looks a good area, okay, that's fine. But also bear in mind that conditions change throughout a day, and therefore the fish might move with those conditions.
And Alan, you're going to tell us about the momentous day when you had this. Is it a 33 or 34 pounder? What was it?
Oh, actually, this fish, the biggest fish I've caught is 30 pounds 10 ounces.
30 pound 10 ounces?
Yes.
You've had another one big as well?
Yes, I was lucky enough to catch another this year of just on 30 pounds. So yeah, it's just two amazing fish.
So describe the day in question, the first one, the 30 pound 10 ouncer.
Well, I guess it's one of those days where I'd been fishing, I'd taken some holiday, I'd been fishing for 5 days without any kind of sign of a fish. And I was thinking about packing up. I thought, this is not happening this time. You know, it's a beautiful sunny day, virtually no wind. My sort of senses told me, you know, go and do something else with your time. But you just always, it's tough when you've been out in the water for 5 days. It's actually quite difficult to wind in.
You actually start doubting things.
Yes.
All your preconceived or pre-planned ideas out the door.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, the secret of Ferox fishing is having time on the water. You know, because just like that, things can seem absolutely hopeless. You haven't seen a fish, touched a fish for days, and suddenly, you know, the rod will slam round and you're in to a big fish.
Welcome back to Fish Talk.TV. This is our very first live online broadcast for you, the viewer, to get engaged with us. It's an interactive show. That's the way it's been designed. So tweet us at Fish Talk TV, follow us on Facebook, keep watching, and let us know your views and comments about all that's going on in your patch. And remember, enter that pixelated competition to be in with a chance to win a great tackle prize. Now I want to welcome back into the studio with me here my three amigos here. Paul Burke again. Paul, Pascal, you're welcome again. And Kahal, my buddy, how are you? So we're having a studio chat, and the one thing about fishing is when you're not fishing, you talk about fishing. So I love to talk about people's new techniques and knowledge that they might have come across. Have you come across anything recently, Paul, in relation to, say, tackle or techniques that blew you away, or even a lure or whatever?
Well, actually, the tackle, as you know, I fish for everything. And I had a great pleasure to be working here in this area at the recent World Pairs, which Kahal was taking part in, and to see the new developments on how to catch fish. Just wonderful.
Blew you away?
Blew me away, yeah. Really and truly. Technology. It's just wonderful, you know, and the people are very professional. We thought we were professional 20 years ago, but these guys are really, really...
Yeah, we weren't even in the halfpenny place for the knowledge and technology this fellow's using.
It was just a pleasure to watch these guys in action. They were terrific. When you consider the conditions we had 4 weeks ago, with sunny conditions, bright, very fishy,
very warm temperatures.
Still, the boys were able to bring the fish in, and that is skill. That's something I still strive to do.
Yeah. Now, Pascal, you come from Normandy in France, and I would have thought immediately you're a sea fishing man, but you're not. You fish for all predatory fish. Do you ever fish for sea bass?
Yes.
And how do you fish for sea bass?
My favorite techniques is with soft baits.
Surface baits?
Soft baits.
Surf baits, okay. Can you describe it?
With Texas rig, we fish in the oyster park. You know oyster?
Yeah, I know the oyster, yes. Yeah. Austriedulus is the oyster.
Yes, and it's very shallow, and we fish wetless, and it's very amazing. Amazing, yes.
And how big are the bass that you might get on average? What size are they? 1 kilo, 2 kilo?
Oh, it's about, we have caught many fish more than 4 kilos.
4 kilos?
Yeah.
That's superb. They're superb.
It's all fish.
Yeah, they are beautiful. And the one thing about sea bass, and I have never fished for them, but I've been in the company of people who showed me their trophy shots. It's the fact that they are a seasonal fish, and you fish for them at a certain time of the year, and they often, to me, would be the harbinger of summer. They tell you that summer has arrived in Ireland particularly.
Yeah. In France too. The season begins in May, and late fall is very good for the big sea bass.
And do you fly fish for them into the surf?
No, never. But it could be a new challenge for me.
Yeah. And I tell you, over here, there's a whole new breakout from the traditional methods, and a lot of these guys are specializing. We've wonderful guides now, particularly from Wexford right down to the Kerry coastline, offering fantastic services to tourists and also domestic anglers alike. Fly fishing into the surf, and I believe it absolutely knocks your socks off. Now, Kahal, you are at the edge of the sport, at the pinnacle of your sport, and I'm fascinated by all of the developments. Describe to me, you're going to go practicing tomorrow, and you're going to be in a trial, I believe, on Saturday, is that correct? And it's long-range feeder fishing. Explain to me, and to the viewers, in other words, what this means.
Well, a feeder is a small device that you obviously fill with feed. So every time you cast out, there's a small bit of feed there which attracts the fish and keeps them in the area. It's an Irish trial, so what the manager insists we do is fish at a distance of minimum of 70 metres. So therefore, all your tackle takes a lot of force in order to fish that distance, so all your tackle has to be up to the task. Heavier lines, heavier feeders.
So the feeder, is it like a cylindrical cage? That's my memory of it. Or if you had maggots or whatever,
Yes.
it could have a plastic one, caps either end and holes.
If you can imagine something as simple as a hair curler. Okay, a little bit more advanced than that, but to give the American viewers a little bit of a description here, like a hair curler that you fill with your feed. When that goes into the water, the feed is released. Every time you wind in and you're going to recast, you refill it.
Okay,
so
and what distance from your hook and your hook bait is this device?
It varies depending on the type of fish you're fishing for, but on average, I set up, we'll say, 50 centimetre hook length, 75 centimetre hook length, a metre hook length. And depending how I'm catching, I vary to find out which is the best.
Okay, so you have a tail, is that it?
Yeah, that's the correct term, yeah.
If you had a metre, which is 40 inches, give or take.
Yes.
And it comes down in a slow arc, and it lies there, and of course, all the contents from the feeder have now washed out.
Yes.
So this must be like a magnet.
It is. You hit the nail on the head there. If you're getting bites pretty quick as the bait is falling through the water, well, you use a longer hook length or a longer tail, therefore you're increasing the length of time it is to give yourself in that catching period.
Okay.
If it's taking a long time after the feeder settling on the ground to get bites, use a shorter tail. That just simplifies it for the viewers.
Is it a specialism of yours?
It is now, if the manager's watching, yes.
It is. This is one of your favourite methods.
I do enjoy doing it because there's a technique involved that it's not easy and it's a challenge, and I always like a challenge. So I've gone out some days, I'm good at it, some days I'm not so good at it. Weather has a lot to play in it. If you have a headwind straight into your face, I'll tell you, there's not many guys that will be able to do it, including myself.
Okay.
You know, so.
Now, at the business end of the rod tip, describe for those who are not knowledgeable about this, what is it like, this tip that it's made of, and how sensitive it is?
It's carbon, it's quiver tip it's called. They come in two materials, carbon or fiberglass.
Okay.
The next day at that distance you generally use a carbon tip. That's how the bites are indicated. As the fish pulls the bait, the tip moves. We use braid, 0.08, 0.10 braid.
So very fine diameter.
Very fine diameter, but braid will increase your casting distance because it's fine, yet it's so strong. And also because there's no stretch in it, it increases the sensitivity. If you used monofilament, you won't see as many bites because of the stretch in it.
So you cast out the cage feeder, settles on the bottom, and of course the lead on the side of the feeder.
Yes.
So then you build up resistance and tighten up your curve of the tip. Is that correct?
Yes. So
and do you use a target board or something to really highlight the movement if it's very twitchy?
I don't. I tighten up, kind of trained eye there. Some guys use a target board. Shows how long since you've been fishing, Alan.
yeah, exactly on it. So I haven't done this for a long time, but I used to love it.
Yeah, the target boards are gone to the antique roadshow, I think.
Are they really?
Yeah.
So now the tips are so good, is it?
The tips are very good. When you balance your tackle, that's what you're trying to do. Find a fine balance to get you out there. Yes, use a tip that's sensitive enough in order to see the bites.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was to put you on the spot, because I'm going to interview you in the next week or so, how do you think you will do on Saturday? If you draw a favourable peg and if the conditions are in your favour? What would you like to do?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't, because it's a trial, or it's more of an assessment rather than a trial, it's not going to be, the team I believe is not going to be picked on the actual, if you win the trial, that doesn't automatically guarantee you selection. It's your technique, your organisation, all these different things the manager wants to see. So I reckon if I pay him off good enough, I might get in, I don't know. I would love to go. I haven't done it in a few years. I'd love to get back. The team had won a silver medal last year. So you can't expect to take any of them lads' places. However, there's one of the lads has retired from the team, so there is a place up for grabs. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Okay, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Paul, you produce every week with your colleague Miles in Inland Fisheries Ireland this round-robin newsletter, a magnificent e-zine that goes out to all the anglers and clubs and associations around Europe and indeed across the world. It's a big job.
It's a big job. In fact, would you believe only a few minutes ago I got a copy of it, which I have to send out to my contacts, to Pascal here, for instance, to all the mainly tourism and journalists. That's who I deal with. Copies of it go around. It's in an e-zine form, which means it's easy to highlight. If you have something you like to fish for, if you're a pike addict, for instance, you obviously want to see the pike stories.
Yeah.
So those are highlighted.
So if we can link through our Facebook page to this e-zine, then our viewers will be able to actually get the benefit of viewing this, and also maybe broaden the scope of the viewership around the world to see the quality of the information and all the latest knowledge and catches and what they're being caught on.
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic, and it's a free service.
It's a free service. The problem is we had to develop it as an e-zine because there's often hundreds of pages. We have contributors. I'm the editor. I've been writing it for years, since 1989. But now people are contributing to us.
Okay.
And I edit it just in case if there's anything wrong. But my colleague Miles Kelly and Nancy Erne, they also work alongside me.
Now, I have a little secret that I'm going to throw a curveball at these boys. Pascal Lisser, if you would come forward, please. I would like you to show our three guests tonight a small test of their dexterity and skills. If you would give a rod out to each.
Yes, of course.
And if you have the floats. Yes. Well, and I'll explain the ground rules. Yes. And I'm going to stand out of the way here.
Here.
Thank you, Kahal.
Sorry, Pascal. Up.
Thanks.
Also,
one for you. One for you. One for you.
Or maybe not.
Now, I'm just going to explain to the viewers. Pascal, if you could stand out of the way for a second, please.
I don't even know what that thing is for.
I'll explain here.
What's that thing?
We have a rod and reel combination with braid on it. Everyone gets the same quality tackle, give or take. They're getting one floater, a bobber as is known in the United States or Canada, and they're getting, instead of a hook, because we don't want any accidents and law cases after this, they're getting a willow leaf blade. So we're going to time them all and get them on a bragging board and show them what their skill sets are, if they can do this or not. And I'm going to stand out of the way. So we will start. I count down 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So this is the Talk.TV tackle challenge. You don't even have to put it together, Carl, if you don't wish. The speed is to do it. And we'll have a bragging board, so each week we will include the update news on who is winning and going ahead. 20 seconds. Bloody hell. Can I break his rod? "20 seconds. You're flying it, guys. Kahal Hughes is showing his skills and dexterity, lashing along now here. Yeah. Not easy. 45 seconds. Brilliant. Coming up now in a minute soon. 1 minute. $112. It's more difficult than you thought, because why? The pressure's on, the hot glare, the cameras are here, and we have a large viewership from around the world saying, my God, those guys are fumbling it. Well, you guys, 123. Kahal Hughes, 123. Woohoo!
It's only an hour show, Paul, you know.
I think, guys, we should need to give you a slow round of applause for our contestants. Well done. So Pascal, he's in at 157.
Okay. Afraid I failed. I can't see that high.
57.
Congratulations.
It was a bit of fun.
Well done, Carl.
Thank you very much. This is our bragging board, and this will change, no doubt, throughout the year as we progress through into different shows. But it's just a bit of fun. It's a bit like putting people on the spot to see, can you do it under pressure? And you did very well. You acquitted yourself well, Kahal, but you do have an advantage. Your view and your knowledge and skills. Same to you, Pascal. Well done. And you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now, I just want to say, next week coming up on the show, we've got a lot of very interesting guests, a diverse range of guests coming on the show again. But before I say anything further, I want to thank a number of people who are involved in this production tonight. I want to thank my colleague Gary Finnegan, our producer and director. Without him and his skill sets and knowledge, this would not be possible. I want to thank also the people behind the technology out there, iBub. Without them, we would not be broadcasting to your homes, onto your laptops, your PCs, all over the world. We've got friends in Brazil watching, we've people over in Australia watching it, and all across Europe, indeed the United States as well. So without that, we would not be able to do this. But you know what? Like everything else in life, it's the end of our first show. The time flew away. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of adrenaline here because of the fact it's our very first show. But thank you all for watching. We'd like you to keep in touch with the show, hear your news, views, comments and opinions. Tweet us at Fish Talk TV. Follow us on live stream. Stay with us also on Facebook. Send us messages on Facebook. But get us on Google. Go to Google into your browser and put in youtube.com/Fish Talk Live. Got that? Fish Talk Live on youtube.com, and you'll be able to follow us in future. So thank you all. Thanks for all my guests for participating, and thanks to you, the viewers, for tuning in. Good night. Take care.